What does a day in the life of an industrial logic developer look like?
Actually, I'll start by saying it kind of looks a little like this, except we're not in SteamYard, right?
Right.
So we have a Zoom location that we all have that we all go to in the morning, and then we use breakout rooms. And so in the morning before our not a stand-up meeting, we get together, typically with the people we were working with yesterday, and we continue on where we're at. One of the things a lot of us do on our project, because we're using React Native, is we kill Metro. And if we don't kill Metro, then we do it later on. But yeah, we get together, we continue where we were the day before. We'll mention this later. We look at our decision trees to see the tracking of progress, and then we have a regular meeting at 10 o'clock Central every morning. We join, we sync up, talk about anything, regroup, reprioritize, and then we go back into it. That's at a high level. We do that every day, and then some days we do other things. But jump in the morning, regular scheduled meeting, regroup, redirect, and then continue on. And then throughout the day, we might change where we're working, but generally speaking, I'm sticky most of the day. Some of us change more frequently, but from day to day, I might change who I'm working with. That's a very quick summary. Jessica and I were working together a couple days
And you know
ago.
what? And that's the thing too, is we have the choice to decide what we would like to work on. Just because I was working on it this morning doesn't necessarily mean I can't take a look at the breakout rooms and decide, oh, I want to work on printing, and pop into printing and jump right into that. And mobbing helps me be able to do that too, without necessarily having that context right away.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. I joined this group after 6 months, October, whatever, and I had spent a couple of hours installing software before being with the team, reading the README, and then an hour and a half into my first day on the group, I had committed to trunk tests and production code. So an hour and a half in, and that included fixing a few things that our README now has fixed, but because everyone updates the README as they work on it, it was still 90%. Now it's 95%. So I committed within an hour and a half of my first day. And there's no way I could have done that because, by the way, even though I sort of know JavaScript, I didn't know React Native at the time. So I came onto a team using some tools I had used and many tools I had not used, and committed in an hour and a half from my machine to trunk.
So Brett, for context, how big is the team you're working on, and does the whole team mob together?
So our team it slightly varies, whatever, about 12 to 15-ish. I mean, it depends on what you define by the team. Our mobs are typically, they vary in size, but 3 is a typical number. We sometimes pair. Just a couple of weeks ago, we swarmed on a thing that was blocking the rest of the group. So we had like 7 people on one thing, because we were like, well, wait, this is important. We have to do it. But also, more importantly, it's not the whole thing, but parts of this block parts of that. And so if we can find a thread that allows us to sort of pull and then work on things in parallel, that we'll do that. But before we can do that, we group together. So a buddy of mine, David Nunn, calls it, and we do it, swarming and or diverge and converge, right? We diverge when we need to, we converge when we need to. So diverge, we have 3-4 mobs working on different things that are relatively independent. Converge, we have maybe a couple mobs working on things. We don't often have whole team for a lot of things, but we have. We do whole teams for retros and such. But in terms of development, 3 is a typical number, 2 is common, 4 is common, 7, 10 is less common. But when we're doing that, we're consciously saying, look, this is something we all probably need, because that swarming, by working together, we're sharing what's going on. You don't have to hand off if you're there.
We're not playing telephone. We're just
right, exactly. And that telephone is a huge waste of time, just a huge waste of time. And the problem is it's untracked waste of time that people are just used to doing. And so we don't consider, for example, integration issues. And that's one of the reasons why the way we work is so odd to people, because a lot of the problems that you naturally have just don't happen when you're mobbing and when you're practicing continuous delivery and so on, or continuous deployment. Sorry, whichever term you want to use and whatever you're actually doing. Details.
Yeah, and with that too, I think it's just to maybe paraphrase, it sounds like you're mobbing close to 100% of the time.
Yep, close to.